Hello, Jack. Great seeing your face. How are you?
Yes, good. It's my pleasure to be here on your show on Metal Chaos.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor, to be honest, because you have been around musically, artistically so long, but you are still young.
Yes, not too young, but yeah,
No, 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 no. We metalheads, at some point, we stop growing up.
that's right. When you reach the age of 50, the time goes the other way.
Thank you, because I am 50.
Okay,
I
so it
appreciate that.
just so it just started happening for you. Yes.
Yes. It's been decades since the original Out of the Darkness was released. What was the motivation to release part two?
Okay, well, part one did very well. It's
Mm-hmm.
really my best-selling album. It's about 200,000 copies, which is amazing for an independent album. It was on about, I don't know, six or seven different record labels, like Roadrunner, like Music for Nations, all kinds of labels. So I thought, why not a part two? The people like part one, and it's kind of like, with movies, Star Wars, big success. And then there's a Star Wars 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a Batman, Batman 1, 2, and it just goes on. But I don't plan on doing like, five sequels, but I thought it would be nice to do at least one sequel.
Well, there is a big difference with movies. Usually, the sequels are not as good as the first one.
That is true. So maybe it's not a good analogy.
Yes, because this album is really, really good. So, at what point was this? At what point did you decide, okay, I want to write new music? Let's do part two?
Well, I started thinking about it about 2.5, 3 years ago. Then I met a bass player that lives near me I live in Florida. So
Okay.
I met a bass player named Gene Cooper, and he told me that, he's starting to do some recording in his house. He set up a little recording studio. And so I thought, why not? Let me check it out. Maybe we can create some music together. So we made some demos of the songs, and then I started hearing that there was a similarity between what I was doing in 2024 and what I was doing in 1984. And I said, this is kind of cool, this isn't my band, Virgin Steel, this isn't Burning Star. This is something that is closer to what I did with Rhett Forrester
Mhm.
many, many years ago. So I decided to just go with it, and see if I can recreate the magic.
So no, what was the timing with this decision with you signing with BraveWords Records?
Well, what happened is first we had to find a singer, and we tried out a couple of people, including including one singer who's very well known, but I don't really want to say his name. I can tell you maybe after the show because I don't want to say anything negative about anybody. But we tried out a lot of singers, and then all of a sudden, I thought about it, and I said, the guy that heads up the record company that I was on called Global Rock is a really good singer. His name is Giles Lavery.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, maybe I should just ask him to try out, but not try out like an audition, but just have fun, do one song and see if he likes it and we like it. So he did one of the songs, and it sounded great. And it was, to me, it was a good mixture of the grittiness of Rhett Forrester, but
Mhm.
also the metal high, singing of like a Dio or a Jeff Tate, because he has the range, but he has also the dirt,
Right,
if I can use that word,
of course. So and then I guess Eric came along because
Yes.
they are both in Warlord. right?
Yes, and Eric was really a great also piece of the puzzle because I needed another guitar player that understood my playing and could embellish my playing and do, you know, some solos too as they were needed, some harmony as it was needed, some second guitar parts. And Eric is really a phenomenal guitar player. And also the producer of the album, Thomas Merkler, is also a great guitar player. So I had him play also, and also even Kevin Burns, who played on some of the Burning Star albums. He did acoustic guitar
Mhm.
on our one ballad. We have one ballad on the album called Velvet Skies. So we had altogether four guitar players playing on the
Wow.
album.
Maybe that's the biggest difference with the first one, with the, how should I call it, the debut, the first Out of the
Yes,
Darkness, right? Because back then it was you doing all the guitars.
that's right. Well, actually, I did have help from one guitar player, a guy named Paul Kane,
Mhm.
who also ended up playing with Rhett Forrester. I think he's on one album with Rhett. So yeah, but this definitely has a lot more guitar from from everyone.
So, as I said, there are 4 decades. How did you
Right.
try to bring those two together in
Well,
music wise?
well, what I wanted to do is I didn't want it to be typical heavy metal, singing about dragons and kings and you know, which is okay.
Of
I'm
course.
not, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I wanted to have a little bit of some blues in it because, you know, I think that what I do best really is play heavy blues.
Hmm.
And there are some guitar players that do that in metal, like Tony Iommi has a lot of blues. Ross the Boss has a lot of blues. All the guitar players in Whitesnake can play blues. So I wanted to put some blues into the album, but not too much because I didn't want to scare people, and have them think, it's going to be a blues album because it's not. But I wanted to have some of that feeling, and Giles can do that. If Giles wanted to do a blues album, he could do it. He's got that, grit. Same thing with Red Forrester. Red could have done an incredible, blues album. And, a lot of these people, like, I'm sure even Ingve
Mm.
plays blues really well. I remember one time sitting in a room with Ingve. He was showing me the Ingve Fenders that came out. And he picked up the guitar and he's going, "Boo, boo, boo," and he's really playing good blues. And I was like, oh, this is crazy, This guy can play like Hendrix, he can do blues. So it shows that my favorite metal guitar players have have a blues background. And Giles does that with his vocals.
Yeah, because there is, should I say, there is more soul in blues. There is,
Yes,
and there is more emotions in blues, right? And
it's true.
sometimes in metal we don't have that, and especially nowadays where we have put everything in boxes, right? So if we
Yes.
play thrash, we have to play thrash, nothing else. So what you're doing, I really appreciate it because I don't want to have a laser focus on a specific music style. Come on.
Right, exactly. And so I'm old, and I've listened to a lot of different music in my life. And I was born in Europe. So I was born in France, and we listened to different music than what people listen to in America. So when I was growing up in France, I heard a lot of accordion music. I heard a lot of classical music. I heard Italian music, I heard Greek music, I heard Middle Eastern music, and it was all being played on the radio in
Yeah.
France. So, so this is, part of who I am. Uh, it's just what, and it comes out when I play. You know, sometimes I'll play something, you know, when my mother was alive, she would listen to me play and she goes, "Oh, you know, this sounds like a Greek song that I listened to in 1959 when I was a tourist in
Gee.
Greece." And I'm thinking, that's crazy. You know, why am I why am I channeling this? Or, you know, she might say, "Oh, you know, your father used to like this Italian song." And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not playing an Italian song. I'm just riffing on the guitar.
Right.
But, you know, it's these influences were coming into me and they were coming out. You know, they were being released.
Let's not forget when we are children, right? When we are very young, our minds is like a sponge. It
Yes.
absorbs everything. So when you were growing up, obviously your parents were listening to that type of music. So this was imprinted almost in your DNA, in your music DNA.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And I'm happy because when I came to America, I was already 10, 11 years old. It was a totally different music,
Mm.
which I also liked, but I was hearing a lot of Motown, a lot of, you know, things like the Supremes, the Temptations, Otis Redding, Jackie Wilson, all this stuff, Sam Cooke, and of course the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were becoming big also. So I was listening to all of that, and it was like a big soup, you know,
Yeah,
stirring up a pot of soup, and out came Jack Starr, you know.
perfect, perfect. So when the lineup was solidified, when you chosen the musicians to work with, did you keep writing music or did you have almost everything ready?
Most of it was written, but I'm not a dictator. So, you know, when I write a song, I don't have the attitude, "Oh, this must be exactly like this because I am coming down from Mount Olympus and I have decreed that this song cannot change." No, I don't have this attitude at all. I want everybody's input. So the songs were rough outlines, you know, and everybody contributed. And when I say everybody, I specifically mean Gene Cooper, who was co-producing the album with Thomas Merkler. Thomas Merkler was the executive final producer and engineer. And also, I was getting a lot of input from Giles because, you know, we have a saying, you know, Giles has been around the block. He's doing this for a long time. Considering that he's only in his 40s, it's amazing. You know, he's singing with Warlord, with Alcatraz.
Yes.
So his opinions are very important to me. And you know, if he said, you know, this verse is not working, or why don't we put the intro after the bridge, or why don't we not use the intro? Too many intros. Whatever it was, I thought he had a lot of really good ideas. So when you ask who really wrote the songs, I can say yes. It started off with me writing them, but then it took a life of its own.
Yeah, and that's a rare attribute for a lead guitarist to say, "Hey, I use the opinions of others," right?
Yeah,
We don't see that often. um,
yeah,
so, however, there are two more guests, and I'm referring to Mark Zonder, also in
yeah.
Warlord, and of course Jimmy Waldo. And I think I hear some keyboards in Sahara Winds and Soulkeeper, right? At least.
Yes. Those were not done by Jimmy Waldo. Those two songs, uh, those were actually done by a guy named Rick Yerkes,
Hmm.
who is a local guy who been playing a long time, and he's very good. But it was an honor to have Jimmy Waldo on our version of the song "The Lesson"
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's from an old Virgin Steel demo, and it was great because Jimmy plays amazing keyboard, and Mark Zonder, of course, is a great drummer. So they both played on that song "The Lesson." And
Okay.
that song is a bit of a departure from the album because it's more progressive than maybe a little more progressive sounding, than some of the other songs. Uh, so, and then, but Mark was the perfect drummer for that song because he can capture the sound of, Neil Peart, that kind of
Mm,
very complicated drumming. The rest of the drums on the album are done by Rhino,
correct. Of course.
who's also a great drummer. He really is. A different style. Rhino plays heavy,
Yep.
very, very strong sound. I'll tell you a quick story. We were playing one day at a party for some Hells Angels.
Okay.
It was crazy. And I didn't want to say no, we're not going to do your party. But anyway, so we played the party, and afterwards, I think one of I don't know if it was the vice president of that particular little club, but he went up to Rhino. He liked our band a lot. He liked my guitar playing and everything. He told Rhino, he goes, man, you play those drums like you have something against them. I thought, this guy really hit it on the head. You know, it's like the anger, some but controlled anger, like
Mhm.
John Bonham, and that's very rare. I mean, I've seen maybe 5 or 6 drummers that have that kind of power.
Mhm.
So it was good, and I've always liked Rhino's drumming. For me, it reminds me of John Bonham, that
Mhm.
kind of style.
That's a great compliment.
Yeah, but of course now in today's world, there's probably 12-year-old girls in Thailand that can play as good as John Bonham, or, you know, 8-year-old girls in China that can play every John Bonham. It's just amazing with YouTube. And I'm not even joking. I mean, I go to YouTube, I'll see like an 11-year-old girl from the Philippines play Ingve exactly
Right.
like Ingve. So nothing surprises me in music anymore.
At the same time, it makes people like me feel terrible because I have a guitar, but I haven't even become even remotely closely to those people who are way younger than me. So it's good, but for some people, it
It's
creates
bad.
jealousy, right?
Hey, it's bad for me. I'm listening to them, and how do they do that? So the only thing really that separates, that makes me feel okay about myself, is that I know I can write good songs. So even
Right.
if I can't play, you know, lightning arpeggios, or all that stuff, uh, I could write good songs and a lot of these uh, guitarists, and they don't have that ability. So I don't know.
So here's the biggest difference in that aspect. You can teach someone to play the most complicated riff,
Mhm.
and they will do that in a ridiculously high speed.
Yes.
Ask them to write the most simple riff that will stay with you for decades and see if they are good, right? Because the simple songs are stay with us.
Yes, you're right. And as the Chinese say, there's complexity in simplicity.
Correct.
So sometimes it may appear simple, but it might take 40 or 50 years to be able to write that simply. You
Mm-hmm.
know, my favorite riffs, riffs like down, 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 that, or
Yeah, of course.
or Satisfaction, bam, bam, down, 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 or Smoke on the Water.
The perfect example. Yeah, everybody knows that. So,
It's hard to write that simple. We have a couple of songs on the album, this one right here.
mhm.
We have a couple of songs that have memorable riffs. I think one of the things that I think that people know me for is that I'm a bit of a riff meister, you know. I can really
Yes.
come up with some really good riffs. This album has at least a dozen great
Hmm.
riffs. And so for me, that's important because when I buy an album, because I'm also a fan of music, you know, when I buy an album, I want to hear cool riffs.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
I don't want to hear just like bam, 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 you know, whatever. I want to hear like bam, bam, down, down, bam, down, 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 you know, like Priest, right? They write great riffs. Tony Iommi,
absolutely.
great riffs. But guess what? So does Jack Starr. And when people listen to all my stuff, I think a lot of them will make that connection. And I don't want to sound, you know, like I have a big head. I don't, because everybody should know their strengths, you know, what they can do. If you don't know your strength, then you also don't know your weaknesses.
Yes.
So this is something that I can do really well. I can come up with great riffs. And I think if people like that, they really should listen to this album. Uh, the next song that's coming out is called Hands of Doom.
Mhm.
I know, have you
I
heard
think
that one?
it was released today, right?
Yes, no, April 25th is the official release date, but you have an advance copy because
Oh,
you're in the media, so
correct,
you get
correct.
an advance copy. It's the first song on the album, and the riffs are great on that song. It's a great song. If I were to put in the dictionary great metal song, I think I would put Hands of Doom. I would put it right there, right next to Breaking the Law.
Ooh.
I put it right there. I put Hands of Doom, Breaking the Law. And I didn't even know uh, that Black Sabbath, I was told recently that they have a song also called Hands of Doom or Hand of Doom. I did not know that. And I think it's interesting how sometimes, you know, you start thinking, you know, a certain way, you know.
Speaking of riffs, I have a specific question for Rise Up. When you start the solo, there is
Yes.
a melody that reminds me of Fly Me to the Moon by Frank
Yes.
Sinatra.
Yes. And you know, I thought about that. Um, First I started doing it, you know, spontaneously, and then I realized, you know, it does sound like it. So instead of discarding it, I just said, you know, the hell with it. It sounds good. I'm
Oh,
keeping
yeah,
it,
absolutely.
you know. And it's the same thing. I don't know if you remember, this is, you know, a long, long time ago, Sunshine of Your Love by Cream, you know, da 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 da, bam, bam,
Oh,
bam,
yes,
bam,
yes.
bam, 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 bam. Okay. Whenever Clapton starts the solo, he plays a song called Blue Moon, which is a very, very famous song from, I believe, the 1950s. So he's going, do, 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 do. That's the exact melody to Blue Moon. So I was thinking, you know, if Eric Clapton can get away with doing this stuff,
Of course.
the hell with it. I'm going to do whatever I feel like it. And the older that I've gotten, I realize that people worry too much about, oh, I can't do this because this was done already. Don't worry about it. If you're a musician and you're listening to me right now, my advice is play whatever is in your heart. If it sounds like something else, that's okay too, because there are only 12 notes in music. Everything has been done before or has something similar.
Yes.
You know, so just do it, you know. It's okay. You have my permission and
Honestly, if that part of the solo makes a younger listener to go back and do some research, this is a
yes,
win right there.
you're right. Absolutely. And as far as borrowing, everybody does it.
Yeah,
I
of course.
I'm like a I'm like an expert on where everybody gets their riffs from. I don't, whenever I hear a song, I automatically know
Mhm.
where they got the riffs from. Uh, take Led Zeppelin. I think 80% of their songs, I heard the riffs before.
Right.
Uh, uh, Richie Blackmore, Black Knight, da, 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 da. That was done twice before, two hits before Black Knight. One of them was the Blues Magoos,
Hmm.
1966, We Ain't Got Nothing Yet. And the other one was by a teen idol named Ricky Nelson. Ricky Nelson was like the Elvis Presley, but he had his own TV show with his parents. And he had a song that had that same riff. Da, 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 da. So everything's been done. And as we get older and music, rock and roll gets older, you're going to be seeing more and more, of everything being done. It's how you put your own feeling
Oh,
into
yes.
the, you know, you interject who you are. So when you're doing, I don't know, Stairway to Heaven, maybe it does sound like Spirit, but in my opinion, I like Jimmy Page's version better than Taurus by Spirit,
Right.
So
Although
everything,
that was disputed on the courts, right? They had
yeah,
a battle of that. At least these days we don't have these things battling about who owns what, and
yeah.
anyways,
And you know what? And nobody really cares about any of it unless you're selling 1 million albums.
correct.
So, so I'll worry about that when I sell when the album starts selling like at least 200,000 because nobody really cares. There's very little money in royalties unless you sell a lot of albums. I mean, even like being on I don't know, all those, streaming platforms, they don't pay very much money,
No, not at all.
so I don't know. Musicians make money, I think, a lot today with live appearances and streaming. I mean, yeah, streaming, live appearances, t-shirt sales, merchandise.
Yeah, but even that has
Even
become,
that, yeah,
yeah, it's kind of difficult. I will ask you about playing live. Before doing so, who
yeah.
wrote the lyrics? Was it Giles?
Who, what?
The lyrics.
Oh, the lyrics. Oh, I wrote most of the lyrics.
Hmm.
But I had a lot of help too from Giles, who, because, Giles is the kind of person, if he, didn't like a certain lyric or certain line, he'll change it, because he he is, he's an alpha male, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. And that's fine because he has the talent to back it up. So yes, I wrote the majority, but Giles definitely came up with a lot of really great lyrics, and Gene Cooper came up with stuff, and so it's important, really to be a team player.
Yes.
This album, I think, really is a team effort. Even
I
though
asked
yeah. Go ahead.
I asked about the lyrics because I wanted to know what was the motivation for the greater good.
Oh, well, the greater good. It seems that in our society today,
Mm.
people always seem to want to pressure somebody else to do something with the argument that if you do this, what I'm asking you to do, it will benefit a lot of people. So if you wear a mask, even though we have no proof about the COVID virus being able to be transmitted through the air, we want you to wear a mask. So it's for the greater good. Or we want you to take a shot, even though we haven't really verified it. We're not 100% sure that it's going to protect you. from COVID, but just trust us. It's for the greater good. Or we want you to go to fight in Ukraine because we're telling you it's really important to keep this guy Zelensky in power.
Mhm.
Very, very important. So we want you to go there. And if you have a son who's of military age, trust us, you need to support him going over there. Or we want you, the list goes on and
Yes, yes.
on and on. We want you to drive an electric car. You must drive an electric car, even though it's not really a good idea because, first of all, the batteries have a tendency to blow up. They're made by slave laborers in China.
Hmm.
And when you buy an electric car, you are basically saying F you to Detroit and to American car makers because we don't make batteries in America.
Right.
We don't make those kind of batteries. So again, you have the media telling people electric cars are good, even though they don't have a good range. They go 300 miles or 250 miles. Then you have to find a place to recharge the car.
Hmm.
So why is that better? I
So
think, well, go ahead.
what I think uh, is the issue here is that we have so many outlets telling
Yes.
us what to do and to think, and we end up with people not having enough time to think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's true because there's too much noise,
Yeah.
and the noise is coming from the media.
Hmm.
And it's telling too many people, there's too many experts. Everybody was an expert on COVID when COVID was menacing, you know,
Right.
and everybody was all of a sudden they were all great biologists and everybody knew about immunology and about virology. And but the truth of the matter is, so we were getting all these conflicting opinions, and then you had people like from the you had people from the World Health Organization saying one thing, you had people from our government saying one thing. Now you have people that are questioning everything that happened during that time period. And even Facebook,
Oh,
they had something called fact checking. Now, fact checking was the biggest joke of all because it wasn't about fact checking, it was about trying to impose your beliefs on other people and justifying it by saying, we have looked into it and this is a fact.
right. But people seem to trust so easy nowadays. We don't think for ourselves. I mean, come on. Of course, we cannot be experts, but
Right.
take some time to think about it. And you know what? Although it's not exactly parallel, even in music nowadays, we have so much music, and it's impossible to digest and to really listen.
It's
Right? It's
true.
impossible.
It's impossible. There's too many bands. There's too many guitar players. There's too many everything. There's too many politicians. There's too many experts.
Yes.
You know, whenever there's a news report on any subject, whether you're watching Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, they have a long list of experts that they call in. Okay, so now we're talking about the border crisis. Let's call in this expert. And it's like, please, it's like, give me a break. How do these people, who determines
Who's this?
who's the expert? I'm an expert, but no one's calling me. I mean, I think I know as much about the border crisis, probably about most things. Why do I know as much? Not because I'm smarter than everyone else, but just because I want to know.
Mm.
I am interested in the world around me.
Yeah, but it requires extra effort, and it's easy for me to take my phone, scroll, and I can become an expert in what, 10 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. It's great. And same thing with learning guitar. You can see videos and someone will get on the screen and say, "Oh, you want to learn Sweet Child of Mine? You know,
Do this.
here is what you know, here is what he played, and and that's it. And then you slow it down. Oh, gong, 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 gong. And then an hour later, you play Sweet Child of Mine, you know. But for me, when I was growing up, no videos, nobody teaching you anything. If you wanted to learn it, you maybe had a record player,
Mhm.
and you would try to slow it down. You couldn't really slow it down. Sometimes you would break your record player because you're trying to make it go slow. But, it is what it is.
Of course. Uh, Playing live, what are your thoughts about bringing this album uh, on stages?
Well, I want to play live. I talked to Giles this morning. We're talking about doing some shows. Um, I think there will be interest to see Jack Starr and Giles
Yeah.
live on stage with Eric too, and hopefully Rhino. Rhino has a lot of commitments, but I'm good friends with Rhino, and I think if I ask him really nicely, he'll also come and do some shows with us. So yeah, I think that will happen. I don't want to give you a specific date right now, but there will be some dates.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, you
And
can bring Warlord along. I'm not sure
yeah,
if Giles would like that.
I don't know. I have no problem with opening up for Warlord or opening up for Alcatraz or opening up for Girls School or any band that, you know, Giles is connected with. And we headlined at a festival last year in Greece at the Up the Hammers. We
Mhm.
were the headlining band on Saturday. It was a 3-day festival. So my name also means something. And obviously Giles's name means something, and Rhino's name, through Man of War.
Yeah.
So hopefully, there would be interest in seeing us perform because, we want to have fun
Oh,
and
yes.
we,
Yes.
and we want to make the audience have fun. This thing it's not rocket science. We're not going to cure cancer. Uh, Probably it's been cured already, but anyway, we're not going to take credit for curing it. We want to get up, put on a good heavy metal show, and we also like the fact that we are a direct link
Mhm.
to the 1980s glorious decade of
Yeah.
epic metal.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I was there with Virgin Steel, Rhino was there with Manowar, and so we're a link to that past. And my mother always said, respect your elders.
And don't forget about the past, right? And I
Yeah,
think there is a lyric line in the new album about talking about respecting and learning from the past.
yes, yeah, learning exactly. Because too many people really don't learn from the past. I mean, there's been a lot of mistakes in history, a
Mhm.
lot of tragedies that really should have been averted, and they weren't. And maybe we're learning, and also same thing with music. I don't want to get too carried away and involved with electronics and with backing tapes. When a band performs live and they have
Right.
backing tapes, and then something goes wrong, and then all of a sudden, they're playing, and the tape stops, and then no more voices, no more harmony guitars, no more. That's not good. I think it was better in the 80s. This is just my opinion. I mean, when the bands relied more on their talent,
Yeah.
than today. And so I want us to be more relying on that when we play live, and that is what we're going to do. But I'm not saying, oh, we can't have any help at all from the modern world. We can have help, but it shouldn't dominate
Correct.
what
Yeah.
what we're doing. If a singer can't sing and he needs all kinds of machines like to make him sing in tune, then he's not really a good singer.
Hmm.
If he needs all that.
I
Uh,
agree.
I could tell you, Giles does not need that. He can sing. He's a very strong singer, and all the singers that I've worked with were all great. From Mike Torelli to Rhett Forrester to Todd Michael Hall to Frank Vestry to Shmulik Avigal. They were all really great singers. To me, it's important because I think that the audience, they might not know who's the best guitar player. They might not know the difference between Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck or whatever, or Yngwie and the guitar player of Symphony X, or Jack Starr and the guitar player from Sabotage, or they might not know really that different. But as soon as you sing out of tune,
Oh,
even even the most unmusical person in the world knows that. So singing is really super important. And I
absolutely.
say that even though I play guitar, but for me, I have to be realistic.
Hmm.
Singing is the key. The Eagles, great harmony. They all sang great. Whitesnake, David Coverdale's great singer. Robert Plant's a great singer. Halford, Dio.
My goodness.
You
Yeah.
know, you could and then you have Van Halen. You have a guy like David Lee Roth, who wasn't an incredible singer, but he was an incredible showman, and
Performer. Yeah.
yeah, and he could have great phrasing. And then you had the other guy, Sammy Hagar,
Hmm.
great singer also. You know, Now if Van Halen, I think they tried some other singers, and it didn't really work for them.
Yeah.
So, it's really about the vocals.
Burning Star. Any activity on that side?
Yes, Burning Star is going to be doing another album, and it takes us a long time to do albums in Burning Star.
Mm,
So really don't expect to see that for another 2 or 3 years. But
okay.
there will be another one. We started writing it like 4 years ago, and yeah, and it takes time. And so I started doing a solo album 2 years ago because I realized that I was getting older. I can't do like 10-year productions. I don't want to do that. I'll be like in a old age home.
Come
Okay,
on.
the album's gonna come out,
Come on, man.
you know. So anyway, I'm just really happy that we're doing the solo album is coming out, and it's great. It's a good album. I mean, what do
Yeah.
you think?
It
I'm
is.
interviewing you now.
No, no, it is great. And I like what it has the epic sound, as you said, of the mid 80s, but it doesn't sound like trying to recreate the atmosphere. It does have new material there, new ideas. Um,
Yeah.
I love the Eastern melodies that you have in Sahara Winds and Soul Keeper. There is interest, there is passion even in the vocal melodies. There
Yes.
are things that I can sing, try to sing, or hum
Right.
along, right? So this is what I appreciate in this music, and this is why I said it's difficult to write simple music.
It is, and that's one of the things that I think I'm proud of. I'm most proud of with this album, that a lot of it is accessible
Hmm.
for most people. Uh, so the arrangements. But when you said something just now about that it takes also from the newer metal, from the new music that's being made today in 2025. And I think one of the reasons for that is really Thomas Merkler,
Mm,
the the engineer and producer of the album. Thomas is really he's a younger guy. I think he's I don't know, maybe like 42 or 43, you know. So for me, you know, he's a young guy and he listens to a lot of the newer bands. Plus he was playing guitar also for Paul Di'Anno
ooh,
in
yeah.
some of those albums that Paul Di'Anno made. And so he knows both. And so he gave it some good sounds from this century. Sounds kind of funny to say that, but you know, I started
It
playing
makes sense
music
though.
in the previous century, and now I'm in a new century. And I think Thomas Merkler really most of his musical formation, I think, happened in this century.
Right.
So it's good for me to have someone like him and Giles who are younger uh, put in their new blood into this. And that, you know, and so that it doesn't sound like, you know, some old guy, you know, trying to recreate the glory days of 1988, you
Right,
know?
right.
And
One
yeah,
last question regarding Burning Star. Are there any plans to re-release any albums on vinyl? I'm looking, and I'm speaking selfishly now. I'm looking at Land of the Dead. Is there any possibility to re-release that on vinyl?
Land of the Dead was released on vinyl. I
Was
don't know
yes, I
if
missed
you
that.
saw it. Okay, but it needs to be re-released because it was a very short, limited amount of
Correct.
albums on a Greek label, I believe. I think it
Blood
was it
and
called
Iron.
Metal? Which one?
I think
Iron?
Blood and Iron, something like that.
Yeah, or yes, I think you're right. But I don't I'm not sure because so few of them were made. I only have one copy myself. It needs to be re-released on vinyl. Also, Defiance.
Mm-hmm.
Defiance was never released on vinyl at all. And if Joey DeMaio is listening to this show, Joey, you're a great guy. Everybody in metal loves you. And a lot of people really would like to see Defiance issued on vinyl. He still has the rights to that album.
Okay.
And so far, he has not released it. And it would be really cool for the fans. And I know Joey has a lot of love and respect for the fans. And I think it would be a cool thing. So, Joey, you know how to get a hold of me. And we've always gotten along. And give me a call. Let's put it out there.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Jack, thank you very much for your time. Such a pleasure to chat about music and about the new album. Hopefully, we will see you guys here in Chicago live.
Yes, I think that would be fantastic. I did play in Chicago with Burning Star, believe it or not, in 1988.
Oh my
We
goodness, I
played
was
at,
in Greece back then.
oh, okay. We played at the Metro, which is near Wrigley Field.
Yes, yes.
And we did a concert there and it was great. And because we were getting played on Z Rock, which
Hmm.
had, it was a satellite radio station. And Chicago was one of the places where we got a lot of airplay back then. So let's hope the magic, you know, the lightning strikes again. And
Well, I don't remember the year, but we saw you guys in Keep It True. So at least,
yeah, that was a 2014, I believe.
I don't remember. I'm
I'm
sorry.
not sure. Or 2012, maybe. It was around there. But yes, that was great. And we loved playing at Keep It True. It's a great festival, you
It
know.
is. It
They
is.
keep the flame of metal burning and they don't care about trends. You know, they
Hmm.
don't care who the latest and greatest metal band is. they put on the bands that they like and that they think that their fans will enjoy seeing. So yeah, so that was a good experience.
Okay, so it's a date. We will see you guys in Chicago.
Sounds great.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you, Dimitris.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Okay. Bye-bye.